Chapter 14. Purifying the Stream of Consciousness. Think of your consciousness as a mirror reflecting the objects which are held before it. Now can you see that to get a different result in the world of effects, you must hold a different object before the mirror of your consciousness. In metaphysics, this principle is called the law of substitution. It means simply that in order to get rid of one belief, you must substitute another for it, that in order to drop one thought, you must put another in its place. This letting go is easy on the physical plane. All you have to do in order to drop something you are holding is open your hand. On the mental plane, the process is much more difficult and complicated. You cannot drop things here by a conscious act such as a single opening of your hand. You cannot get rid of a false belief simply by saying that you no longer hold on to it. You can eliminate it only by putting another belief in its place. The law of mind says that you cannot entertain two thoughts at the same time, any more than you can walk in opposite directions at the same time. If I tell you not to think of a broken doorbell, your mind is immediately directed to it. If you resolve that you are not going to think about the doorbell, you are thinking about it. But suppose that neighbor comes in the back door and engages you in conversation that absorbs all your interest and attention. What has happened to your thought about the doorbell? You forgot about it, didn't you? When you transferred your thought from the doorbell to the neighbor, you were using the law of substitution. You substituted one thought for another. But let us suppose that you have a preponderance of negative thoughts and beliefs to cope with, and let us assume that many of them are very old. An accumulation of old negative beliefs drives one almost to the point of despair, and presumably you have been fighting this accumulated evil for years. Now you've had a glimpse of truth and you ask, will one constructive idea persistently held clean up the whole sorry mess? The answer is yes. Hold this idea. The Spirit of Christ in me now penetrates and dispels every inharmonious condition in my life. Change your thought into it and keep it changed. Talk to yourself about it day and night with the conscious mind in the daytime and through the subconscious mind at night. Meet every adverse incident with it. Rejoice in every evidence of its truth. You will nullify every negative idea regarding your limited environment and will walk in the newness of life. The Spirit descended into the pool. The best way to purify a stagnant pool of water is to turn a powerful stream of fresh water into it. The fresh water does not care how long the slime and mud have been there, nor how the debris got into the pool in the first place. It is not at all concerned as to where the silt and scum came from, nor who threw the tin cans, bottles, and sticks into it. Its only purpose is to purify and clean up the whole mess. When a man learns how to apply the principle of mathematics to his problems in computation and measurements, they no longer baffle him. He forgets the difficulties he experienced and the incorrect results he produced. When he understands the rule, he goes on from there. If a woman has electricity installed in her house, it is not necessary for her to dwell on the previous inconvenience of being without it. Nor does it make any difference to the efficiency of the electricity why she didn't have its comforts and convenience before. All she has to do now is to press a button and her house is filled with light. So it is with a person who has learned how to apply the principle of truth to his daily problem. It is not necessary for him to remember the mistakes and confusion brought into his life by ignorance, acting in opposition to the principle. He can be content to apply the knowledge of correct principle to solve his present problems. And straightway the Spirit descends into the pool and troubles the water. And God, or good, was revealed. The Spirit is the inflowing stream of truth. The pool is a subconscious mind infested with false beliefs, opinions, gossip, and evil. The descent of Spirit is the realization or penetration of the Word that will clean out the pool instantly. When the pool is troubled by the mighty inrush of fresh water, the rubbish is brought to the surface and carried off. The parable of the tars. We read in the 13th chapter of the Gospel according to St. Matthew the story of a farmer who had sown his field with wheat. He had saved the best seed for the new sowing, but an enemy came while he slept and sowed darnel among the wheat. Now darnel looks very much like wheat, but is poisonous to eat. While the meat was in the blade, the deception was not clear, and the farmer did not know that his crop had been fouled. But when the blade sprung up and brought forth fruit, there appeared the tars also. And the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst thou not sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tars? And he said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servants said unto them, Wilt thou we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while we gather up the tars, ye root up the wheat with them. Let both grow together until they harvest, and in time of harvest I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tars, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. There is a lesson in the parable that no truth student should miss. Symbolically, the field is the soul or subconscious mind. It too is a bewildering mixture of good and evil, of wheat and tar. Just as the tares warred against the good harvest, negative thinking, lack of vigilance or the wrong use of the law wars against our spiritual welfare. What is to be done? Two methods are suggested in the parable. The servants were all for the frontal attack. When weeds appeared, they wanted to center attention upon them and pull them up, regardless of what might happen to the wheat growing beside them. Theirs is the negative method. If we follow their advice, we shall, when disease appears, treat the disease. If an enemy is present, we shall attempt to destroy him by a direct attack. But the farmer's method was different. He destroyed the tares by a stronger growth of the wheat. He let them both grow until they could be separated easily at harvest time. If we apply the Master's method to our thinking and practice, we shall center our attention upon the good and forget the evil, knowing that good and evil are but manifestations of the same power. We shall heal the sick man by building health. We shall destroy evil by cultivating a greater consciousness of the good. We will be positive to good. The empty house. In the parable of the empty house, told in the 11th chapter of the Gospel according to St. Luke, Jesus teaches a lesson that you can readily prove for yourself by a familiar physical experiment. Simply take a bell jar with an outlet and place it over a vessel full of water. Then pump the air out and the water will rush in. It is nature's habit to fill a space that has been emptied. This house of which Jesus speaks is empty, and like neutrality, emptiness can be dangerous. To drive out evil thoughts, beliefs, and other impurities, and leave the house of the mind unoccupied can be dangerous. Jesus issues a warning, which is the inner meaning of the story. In Jesus' day, people believed that all human ills, deficiencies, and calamities were the result of demonic possession and obsession. A man's worst enemy were conceived as those invisible. His greatest fears were of the unseen malignancies floating in the air and waiting to pounce upon him. Science has long since disproved these theories, but medical science is beginning to see that there is a definite connection between the disease patterns of the mind and the disease conditions of the body. Jesus met these demon-ridden minds and potentates of darkness with the Word of God. He healed the sick, exorcised devils, and cast out demons, and then he gave the same freeing power to us. Behold, I cast out demons, and I do cures. The Church is awakening once more to its responsibility for the health of the body, as well as for the health of the soul. It is learning that body and soul are two ends of the same thing, and that many of those that are sick in the body are first sick in the soul. But Jesus is concerned in this story with a man who had cast out all evil thoughts and tendencies from his mind and soul and had nothing better to put in their place. He had failed to fill the vacuum created by the departure of evil with the presence of God. So as Jesus said, the last state of that man was worse than the first. The lesson is clear. If the expulsion of evil is to be permanent, we must put something bigger, better, and stronger to the place of evil. For wrong activity, we must substitute right activity. When we banish evil, we must welcome Christ. When we really cure disease, we establish and maintain health.